Okay, Shashank, how are you, man?
I'm good, Tyler. How are you?
Super good. Always happy to talk to you. It's really interesting what you've got going on with Arcus Lending. Can you just start by telling us a little about Arcus Lending?
Sure, of course. Yeah, we started in 2008. As you know, that was probably the best time to start the mortgage company. That everybody was jumping on the ship. I said, why not? Let's do it. But yeah, we started in 2008. Long story. I won't bore you with that. But it's been about 12 years. We have now expanded into 20 different states.
Wow.
With offices in multiple states. And in 2017, we were named to the Inc. 500 list of the 500 fastest growing private companies in America.
Nice.
And, we hope to make that list again next year, actually, given where the growth is this year. But that's where we are. We are a mortgage company headquartered here in Silicon Valley. I'm doing this call from San Jose, and with multiple locations across the country. That's what we are.
So obviously, you're a very brave guy, right? At the height, we didn't know it at the time, but at the beginning of the
Sure.
Housing market collapse, you were like, hey, let's do this. You've taken another leap of faith with digital humans. What attracted you to the digital human platform?
So I am always kind of curious about finding out what's the latest in customer experience. One of the things that even though we are still relatively a small company, but even through the years when we were very, very small, one thing I always used to say that we are in the customer service and education business. We just happen to do mortgages. And so customer centricity has been the focus of Arcus Lending, whether I was a one-person company or two, or like close to 100 people that we are right now. And when David Licken connected the two of us, one of the things that really interested me about digital human is how it can take the focus that our organization has about customer centricity and can actually kind of exponentially grow that part of it by having the digital humans interact with our clients. And so it was an interesting concept. Of course, a lot of us are used to seeing Alexa and Siri in action, not really seeing, but hearing and listening to them in action. It was kind of taking that to a different level with digital human and saying that you can actually see them in action. And something that I kind of instantly felt, and this may sound crazy, but literally, I was probably sold within 30 seconds of looking at it like I can see a future with something like this for what we are trying to accomplish.
You nailed my next question, which was sort of the value. So I guess I would like to say, in your opinion, as a business owner and, a startup guy, an entrepreneur, why is it crucial for businesses to be a part of the next evolution of conversational AI?
I think there are some technologies where you either get part of it or get left behind by years. As in, when iPhone came out and then Samsung tried to catch up and then it's still been playing a catch-up game. It's just by the time you are on version 3.0, somebody is on version 1.0 and they're still trying to catch up. We have seen, I'll go back to the adoption of Siri and Alexa has been through the roof, as in from a kindergartner to, seniors. Everybody, they're totally fine with talking to them as if they were just part of their lives. And that's what's going to happen to something like a digital human. And that the fact that, look, the evolution of experience on online platforms have been what we started with. Something as basic as contact form on websites. We said, okay, let's do a contact form. Then we kind of evolved and we had lead forms. Hey, Philip, give me some more information about what you're trying to do. We gotten even cuter by doing dynamic lead forms. Hey, if you give me this answer, then we will give you some other answer. And then kind of that evolved into chatbots, saying let's get this experience a little bit more back and forth between everything. And then we had Siri and Alexa, which is not on the web as a platform. Of course, I can't implement Siri on arcuslending.com if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. But someone like Rachel, which is our digital human project, takes that to a completely different level where we call it humanizing the mortgage experience. And it may sound contrary to the fact that she's a digital human and not really human, but that's what it is. When we talk to Siri and Alexa, we feel that human connection. And that's what we're trying to do with the digital human. And I think that's that business owners or entrepreneurs that who are not adopting something like this, it may sound a little out of the way right now. It may sound as if, oh, maybe people will get used to it in 2-3 years or wherever, but they're already used to it. They're already used to talking to them. And this is taking it to the next level of actually seeing someone in action, having that connection go even further. And I would strongly advise someone to take a look at it. And if they don't get sold in 30 seconds like I did, maybe they don't get it. Maybe they, I don't know what their understanding of this is, but I absolutely feel, Tyler, that this is the next level of interaction between consumers and the businesses.
That's awesome. You mentioned Rachel. She's your digital human at Arcus Lending. Can you tell us, like, every employee, every person who begins a journey, we all start with a single step, right? Where there's a first chapter. What is Rachel currently focused on? And then how do you see her growing? You know, what's the next couple steps in her journey?
So interesting, because I know you and I kind of jumped on the call the moment I saw Digital You, and I was like, I need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that David connected the two of us, and we had a long conversation about it. But it's crazy that within that few seconds, I could actually not just see the 1.0, but I could actually see the 2.0 and 3.0 where I want to go with Rachel on this.
Right.
And we implemented and went live a couple of weeks back. And initially, we wanted to go live with testing some very basic concepts, like can she answer some frequently asked questions that our consumers and users ask all the time? Can she direct them to the right places? Hey, I want a rate quote. Here you go. You can get a rate quote here. I want to get in touch with the processing team. I'll have the processing team reach out to you. She's already capable of doing that, and that too pretty quickly, because we, as you know, we probably went live in a record time. And we can talk about the entire execution in a few minutes. But so that was the concept behind 1.0. We wanted to be quick. We wanted to be fast. We wanted to be first to the market. We really wanted to be the first mortgage company in the world to go live with Digital Human. And that was the initial concept, is that even though we are in a hurry, we still want her to be functional enough where she can answer a lot of questions. And that was 1.0. On 2.0, we are already working with the dev team on building a lot of API integrations, a lot of platforms that we already use. We're trying to see if Rachel can talk to those platforms and get a lot more value, both to the consumers, our clients, and also to the back end. A lot of our loan officers and processors, they are trying to find information all the time. Hey, what is the guideline if this person has only been employed for a year? Can we give them a loan or not? Even employee questions like, hey, what's our 401k policy look like? Hey, do you cover insurance? We are trying to have Rachel talk to all these different knowledge bases that we have, whether that's on our blog or through API integration to our loan origination system. And that's a lot more work than 1.0, of course, where we're trying to just feed her some basic questions and frequently asked questions. But already, just based on initial conversation with the dev team, it looks like all of that is possible and much more, really. So I'm super stoked already about what in 3 months' time Rachel can do for us, both for our prospects and clients, and also for our employees.
Wow. So Rachel is starting at Arcus to help customers, but you've just mentioned loan officers, people underwriting the loan, looking for information related to the client's data that they've submitted. And you mentioned sort of a human resources angle where Rachel can just answer questions like, hey, do we get Columbus Day off? You know, is Thanksgiving a holiday? Rachel's answer is just no for everything. How about Christmas and New Year's? No, I work 24/7. You should too. No. Her job is to help people find the information that they're looking for, like in the easiest way, right? That they know how to ask for it, which is verbally.
Yeah. So we started with Rachel with three big, I would say, initiators. So three big questions, three big asks from Rachel. That can she fulfill these three things? And the first thing was, can she improve the user experience? And as I said, as a customer-centric organization, that was the number one thing. And even if she could do just that, I would have been fine with that. So I was like, okay, can she improve the customer experience? When they come on the web, can she direct them to the right places? Can she answer mundane questions like, hey, what's the status of my loan? Where they don't have to email the processing team and they can take 5 hours to get back to them, especially right now when the mortgage industry is going through the busiest year that they have ever had on record. Rachel can take a lot of those questions. But the other two priorities for us, the KPI, so to say, for Rachel was that, can she improve lead conversion? Okay, when users come on the website and talk to Rachel, can we get, say, if we have 20% conversion right now, can that move to 30? Can more people give us information about the fact that they want a mortgage? And third, which is kind of, as you said, a little out of the ordinary, was actually to help the employees themselves, and not just our users and clients, into getting them the information, saving them the time that they currently get from all over the place, or from our HR, which again may not be an instant answer, right? You email someone and then you wait or you go through the entire guide of employee handbook and try to find the answer yourself. So 3 very different KPIs, but all of which Rachel is capable of, as of now, at least the way we are looking at it.
You mentioned a point there that I think is very important to everybody who will be listening to this broadcast. And it's about increasing the business's bottom line, right? So what you mentioned was, if lead conversion is 20%, can we get to 30? Hypothetically, what does a 10% increase in lead conversion sort of look like to the business?
Depends. Like, we are about $15 million company in terms of revenue. So as in, there you go, as in that 10% higher lead conversion means an extra $1.5 million.
Right there, right?
In revenue, right there. And we are a growing company. If you keep multiplying the 10% with higher revenue numbers, then that's a much higher number. And we talked about the fact that, and that's just on pure revenue from the lead conversion that goes higher. But a lot of questions to our processing team right now, backend, is just about the status calls. A lot of, I would say about 30-35% of their time is spent on, hey, what's the status of my loan and what's going on next? Rachel can handle that. Imagine the productivity and the efficiency that team gets. That team can potentially do 35% more work for the same salary that we're paying them, because they have much more bandwidth now to work on that. So if you accumulate all of that, even for the size of company, and I said we are relatively small, you're potentially talking an extra $2-3 million in bottom line, because of where Rachel can be when the 2.0 goes live.
I think now's a great time to talk about how you brought Rachel to life. Talk about the construction, if you will, of this project and who you worked with.
Yes, would love to. And talking about costs, and of course, I don't want to get into exact dollars here, but one of my biggest concern when I picked up the phone and called you, Tyler, was that this is going to be so obscenely expensive, is that even though I'm in love with it, this will be beyond our budget. And I was pleasantly surprised the fact that this came at a cost where really any company can implement it. I know that we are slightly bigger than a startup, which probably started 6 months back, but we are still very, very small company. And even if you started literally a couple of months back as a company, this is something you can afford. And of course, I'll encourage you to go to digitalhumans.com and find out the specifics. But if you're just listening to this and wondering how much it costs, it's really something that pretty much every business can afford, is all I can say. But let's deconstruct how we went from having that conversation that Tyler and I had to really going live. And this took all of probably 6 weeks, if I remember, from that conversation to Tyler mentioning, hey, our creator platform is going live in about a week and a half, I think, from that point of time, which is where I would start my clock, because until then it was just a concept and we were talking. But the day that went live, we bought a plan. And from there on, I think the biggest thing about the creator platform is that it does the biggest heavy lifting, which is creating a digital human for you. Because after that, you're just the brains that you're creating. Because most of it, it's templated. You get different looks. You get to play with it. You can have English and US accent or UK or whatever. So you get all those different audio options. So all of that is inbuilt, which was crazy, because really in about 5 to 7 minutes, your digital human is live. It may not have all the brains that you want it to be, but in terms of you can actually start interacting with it. And I'm not a tech guy. I don't have engineering background, but it's so crazy is that after we picked the persona that we wanted to, Tyler Pierce and I went on a call, and in about 45 minutes, I was able to program Rachel, which is beyond crazy to think. My engineer friends kind of, I throw shade at them. Look, I can get this live. I can let her do whatever I want her to do. And then if you can actually believe it, later that evening, my 7-year-old was trying to create questions on Google Dialogflow and trying to say, Dad, what if I ask her that? And we would go to Dialogflow and create that question and get the answer. So that was beyond crazy, because that was another thing is me not having a tech background. I would think that this would take a lot of my bandwidth, or I'll have to work with a very expensive dev team to get it live or get it working. But even complicated stuff like what sounded complicated, like SSML and Google Dialogflow and everything, once they guide you through it, a lot of the setup, you can do it yourself. And that's the part about it, is that you can take the creator platform and have a basic version of a digital human go live in probably 24 hours. There's really not much work that you have to do at that point of time. And of course, you can keep building on it like the way we plan to with Rachel 2.0 and hopefully even 3.0 at some point of time. But from getting on the creator platform to getting it live was probably 24 hours, but even building the brains and everything else that we wanted her to have, all the knowledge that we wanted her to have, that was 5 to 6 weeks from that point to actually making a press release about us being the first mortgage company in the world to go live with the digital human.
With everything we've talked about today, just to kind of bring it all together, in your opinion, what's the most important area to invest in order to have a successful digital human employee? What's your advice to other people who are listening to this that might be considering it? Where do they start? You know what I mean? Just help them get going.
Sure. First of all, I can't even imagine anyone other than, say, UneeQ be your partner in doing it, as they have been true partners. And I don't mean to say it just because I'm having this conversation with Tyler. Really, every step of the way, someone from UneeQ was there with us, helping out with absolutely no background that I had with this. Every single day, as when we had a problem, there was someone to help us out. So that's the first step. Is I don't think any other company can do it better than this way. Once you're there, that's what we say even on the mortgage side of it. It's like if you're working with a great loan officer, then that loan officer will probably handle most of your problems anyway. But that's your first step, is that you partner up with the right people here. And then once you do that, be very clear in what you want to achieve from this digital human, is because the potential is limitless. As I said, we had 3 KPIs that we wanted to go after in the beginning. And that's what my focus has been with blinkers on, that this is what I want Rachel to do. Similarly, you should be very, very clear on what you want to do. And it might be a good idea to go with one at a time, saying, okay, if there are 3 KPIs, let's work on 1, and then we'll go with 2 and go with 3, because it's not that difficult to train her or him, whatever your digital human looks like. It's just that if you start slow and if you get one step done at a time, it makes you feel that you have achieved something and not just stuck in that implementation phase all the time. I'm huge on execution, Tyler, and that's why I want to see something go live, and then it's like we'll work on it after that, and we'll keep adding on it. And while I don't like that go fast and break things, it's more about go fast and make things, but keep making it and then keep making it better. But I think that's the approach that we should be taking, is that we work with the right partner, you work on one thing at a time, and then move on to the next thing and perfect it. But really, if you do it right, your first version could be live in 2 to 3 weeks, and then you work on the more difficult task and the more difficult task. By the time, as I see it, this should help us save hundreds and hundreds of hours, and hopefully make millions more as the time goes by, as Rachel gets better at what she's doing.
Anybody else you want to give a shout out to, and we wrap up?
As people at Spark 64 and in the lovely country of New Zealand, as in who knew we will go that far out to have Rachel implemented here. But again, Pierce made that connection. We came up with a couple of names. We found a real synergy with Spark 64. And again, they were completely in sync with what our vision was with Rachel 1.0 and 2.0. And they worked at it, and they got it live pretty quickly and with a reasonable cost. So yeah, huge shout out to them as well. They have been an integral part of getting Rachel off the ground, and we would love to, of course, continue working with them as we build the next versions of the platform.
Great. So Spark 64, huge thanks from us at UneeQ as well. That's part of our partner ecosystem. Anybody on this call looking for a partner, Spark 64 would be a great partner to work with. Shashank's given them the big 2 thumbs up. So with that, I just want to say thanks so much for your time. Looking forward to seeing Rachel 2.0 and where Arcus grows from here on in.
Thank you, Tyler. And thank you for making Arcus a part of this.